No, this is not clickbait. Yes, you can get a VA home loan without an appraiser going out to the property to assess the value. So let's talk about what is an appraisal waiver so you guys get a full scope of the program and how it works. And I'm also going to share the VA circular and some tips you guys need to be aware of when you're trying to go down this process. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the three most common appraisal waivers where an appraiser does not come out to the property. So the first one we're going to talk about is an automated valuation model, also known as an AVM. That's where a computer program that uses mathematical and statistical models estimates the value of a property. The second type is what's called a desktop appraisal. That's where a property valuation that's been completed remotely without a physical inspection of a property. Instead, an appraiser uses data from the public records, such as property tax records, multiple listing service, MLS information, and previous sales to determine a property's value. And the third one is where you have an appraisal waiver. This was formerly known as a property inspection waiver, or a PIW. I don't like the fact that it went from a property inspection waiver to an appraisal waiver because the appraisal waiver, I think, is a general term. But so you guys are, don't get confused around that. Now, this is primarily generated when you run a conventional loan through what's called Fannie, Freddie, DU, and LPA findings. I know that may seem somewhat confusing, but basically, when you run a property through the automated system, like in whatever loan system you use, then it'll tell you, yes, this property does meet that waiver and you don't have to do that. Now, the way the VA process works is a little bit different. So, and I wanted you guys to give you some comparison to this as well and how this process works. So when it comes to appraisal or conventional loans that have these waivers for Fannie and Freddie, there's been big changes to this as well, which can, potentially shift your mind to say, well, should I use my VA loan or conventional loan? I'm a huge fan of VA loan all the way, all day. But again, your situation may be a little bit different, and that's what we talk on the channel about, all different variations of your situation. So Fannie, Freddie came out that they're going to be allowing appraisal waivers with as little as 10% down compared to a 20% down payment, and also inspection-based reports from 80 to 97, which I think is pretty crazy. Now, let's talk about and dive in so you guys have a good idea of what uh, the process looks like into the VA circular talking about the alternative valuation methods that an appraiser can use to value a VA home loan. Now, this is going to be in the VA circular 2622 13. So let me share this document with you so you guys know, yes, this is real. This came out in 2022. Because when COVID was happening, they did put out some additional requirements. They've rescinded those since then. And now they've come out back in 22. They came out with this alternative appraisal method. So effective immediately from that date. Now let's go down to where it says the desktop appraisal process, so we can kind of go through that and see what we're talking about. So this is the desktop appraisal is the main thing for the VA home loan, where a VA appraisal, nor the appraisals designated under, this is like a lender specific piece, did not go out to the property and examine the exterior or the interior of the property, right? They're using information from public records, the veteran, homeowner, realtor, and any appropriate data sources to determine what the value of a property is. And another big piece to that is that if the property, if nobody basically brings up that there's minimum property requirement issues, like let's say peeling paint or anything else that maybe, can't be seen from the pictures for the property, or no one volunteers the information, then the property is going to be listed as is, which I think is a huge benefit for the veteran community. Now, what stipulates that requirement, which is the next part, which is going to be the exhibit for this? And again, guys, I'm going to link all this down below because it's important for you to understand what are the different obstacles people face when using a VA home loan. Hey, where opportunities lie in order to be able to make the program work for yourself. So let's look at this exhibit so you guys get a good idea of when this applies. Now, obviously, this is going to be subject to change as time goes on. Just like with Fannie and Freddie Mac's products, the VA loan has been evolving over time, which, at least in my mind, has been in a better direction, especially with recent changes that have happened in the industry. The VA shifted on a dime, which, kudos to them for being able to do that. So, when does this desktop appraisal kick in? So, the main piece of this is going to be on a purchase transaction, and it's a appraisal required. Yes, but in a 20% down payment, you can get the desktop appraisal, and basically a lender can make that request so an appraisal doesn't have to go out to the property, which is pretty cool. When it comes to a purchase with less than 20% down, then typically you are going to require an internal appraisal, but there are certain circumstances with less than 20% down where you can get a desktop appraisal. On a cash out refinance, it's always going to be required. And on an interest rate reduction refinance loan, the appraisal is completely waived, which, again, it's one of the big perks of using the VA home loan the first time around instead of trying to refinance into it. I did a whole video on it. It's a lot more expensive, and I always recommend using the VA home loan the first time around if you're able to do so, which you should be able to, even with condos, because most condos actually, VA told us that any condos that have been submitted with waivers can get approval. So just kind of keep that in mind. But you also need to understand condominiums as a whole. Back to this. For the exterior only and desktop appraisals, so 20% is the minimum down payment. Lender has to be, is lender appraisal processing program part of that program? Purchase does not exceed the conforming loan limit for the property jurisdiction, which is odd because technically there's no limits anymore, but now they've, in this specific program, nuances is the key here. They talk about you can't meet, it can't be more, the purchase price can't be more than the single family loan limit for a property. And this is only applies to single family homes as well, which currently in 2024 is $766,550, and in high cost areas it's a lot more. That's gonna be changing here in the next 2 months. So if you're watching this video after that, make sure you go online and take a look at what those new numbers look like. But no matter what, we'll still do a video around that. So like I mentioned, it has to be a single family home. They do not allow manufactured homes or condos, no leasehold property states, and if it's going under a renovation, then you won't be able to do it. Now, if you do less than 20% down, what is the circumstance where this can be applied? So basically, when and this is probably a question I do get a lot from veterans, is that they ask me, well, where do I order the appraisal? Well, that's the thing. A lender's going to order the appraisal through the VA, through their Webley account, right? Lenders have access to it. They type it in, or submit the appraisal request, and then an appraiser is assigned. So if it goes unassigned for 7 days and the following information is true, then they can actually order a desktop appraisal, which is, I think, clutch in areas where maybe extremely busy. That way, at least, this portion could be completed for a veteran. Now, another big piece to ordering an appraisal in the appraisal process and your home loan process is to make sure to get your certificate of eligibility. Now, this was back on May 16th, 2019. It doesn't make a difference because we still have people that run into these types of issues. A certificate of eligibility determines your eligibility to use the VA home loan. It is an extremely important document, right? Eligibility gives you that certificate to say, yes, I can use my VA loan. Eligibility is to meet, the credit collateral capacity to be able to actually get the loan itself, like approved for finances. So it's a very important document. And for the most part, these documents come back really quick, okay? The lender goes online, they make the request, and it comes back within seconds. And that's awesome. The problem is that when it doesn't come back automatically and you have to hunt for documents to make it happen, and depending, ironically, on the branch of service that you're in, some branches are faster than others to get a DD-214, let's say, and especially if you served in the reserves of the Guard, being able to get those point statements also creates a challenge, which can delay your process. another big part to it is that unless your certificate of eligibility is in a pending or active status, meaning like, hey, you've requested it, pending, you've requested it and you received it, that's active. Pending would be you've requested it and we still haven't received the certificate of eligibility. And again, unfortunately, we see a lot of, not a crazy amount of people, but we do see people that think they're qualified for the VA home loan and they're not. But you can check out the channel and I go through a whole piece on understanding eligibility for the VA home loan, and also one on surviving spouses, which is a huge piece for the VA home loan. So hopefully you guys learned some things today. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you soon.